Welcome. Let's do the collective energy reading for the week ahead to see what the cards want to reveal about the incoming energy. Today's date here in the Southern Hemisphere is Friday the 10th of July that I'm doing the reading. This will be for the week ahead from Monday the 13th of July. Last week, as always, I'll do this in 3 parts. First part will be the collective energy, what I can feel in the energy, also what's coming up in the astrology. Second part will be how this affects world events. And then the third part will be what you can do individually or how the energy may be affecting individual people and how to best navigate these energies. So last week's predictions had a little bit about solar flares, well, a lot about solar flares, and I'll run through what actually happened with the solar flares. Something very interesting that happened during the week. My cards are normally all over when bombing starts again. So when there's escalating tension between Iran and the US, the cards are always on it. They always let us know with the explosive cards that there's going to be escalating tension. They didn't last week, but what they did reveal was volatility in the stock markets. And what I've learned, and now I'll use that when I see that card, is that something always triggers volatility in the markets. And I've been hearing that maybe they've been playing the war a little bit to manipulate the markets. So that's new for me. I didn't realize that was going on. And I thought it weird that I was getting volatility in the markets, but not escalating tension and bombing between the countries. So now when I see that volatility, and you'll know too when you see that volatility in the markets that it is triggered by something, and something will happen that will cause volatility in the markets. I may have said that. I may have said something may trigger it. I'm not too sure, like a catalyst event. I think I remember saying catalyst event last week. But anyway, that's what happened. Now with the X flare, because that was quite heavy, strong energy, what happened was there was on the 4th of July, peaking at 4:41, there was a X-class solar flare, 1.3. Now 1.3 is strong, but it's not as strong as say a 5, an X5 class. So it's a moderate within the X class, and the X class is the strongest category of flares. So what it did do, because I was thinking there was going to be some kind of outages or some kind of disruptions, something to do with satellites. I've been hearing in some of the comments I read, people have been saying about the US had some grid outages. I know us here in Australia, we had the telco go down for one of the days this week on Wednesday, which I'm not quite sure what day that was. That was the 7th, I think, or the 8th. We had our national telco go down for a day. Could be unrelated. I've heard different reasons why that happened, but that's some of the things that I heard. But I've just typed in, what effects did it have? And I am seeing that the Earth effects, what actually did happen was radio and GPS disruptions confirmed. NASA and space weather agencies warned of HF radio blackouts for aviation, military and maritime. GPS positioning errors. There was navigation reliability issues that they're saying perhaps occurred because of the X flares, disturbing the ionosphere, degrading signals. Now, I was hearing the word something sphere, and I don't know if I left that part in the video, but I missed the first part of what the word was, and I said something sphere because I missed the first part of it. But they're saying there was a disturbance in the ionosphere that caused some of these issues. Now, satellite impacts, because I did mention satellites, there was minor satellite disruptions. There was some satellites entering safe mode, and there was increased atmospheric drag on low Earth orbit satellites. These effects were linked to severe solar storm around about the same period, driven by a CME. So that actually did happen. Now, this what I'm reading is saying there was no grid outages, but I've been hearing comments, people saying there was some grid outages in the US. So let's get on to this week's reading. I'm going to do a little bit of brief astrology reading. Now for you, I do apologize. I'm going to turn the chart around so you can read it, but I cannot read it upside down. I've tried that before. I just can't do that. I'm not that skillful. So I'm going to turn it back around so I can actually read what's going on. Now, I'd say as far as tension escalating, I would look at Mars. Mars is currently conjunct. There's a 7-degree orb there between Uranus and Mars. Uranus brings in sudden change, it brings in disruptions, it brings in kind of chaotic energy, lightning quick, fast-paced energy, but disruptions in a very quick and sudden way. Mars, of course, is tension, escalating tension. Mars is a god of war, so I can see where that could further trigger and enhance some wars coming up, or warring energy. Now, it could be to do with communication because we've got Gemini. It's both sitting in Gemini, which means escalating energy around conversations and breakdowns of negotiations. That's where we're seeing the US and Iran at the moment. Possibly even Israel in the mix there because of people wanting to get their opinions heard, people wanting to bring their point of view across. So, and then there's a breakdown of communication. There is a breakdown of communication because we have Mercury in retrograde. So there's a lot happening when it comes to negotiations and communication, both on the world stage, but also personally. And I will get to that. But with the communications and the energy of the Gemini, we're seeing that there could be tension when it comes to communication, which means that's a breakdown of negotiations to the point where people are just not hearing each other, and it could bring disruptions to negotiations because that is Uranus. Now the other thing also, it is squaring Venus over here, 5 degrees. We've got Uranus at 4 degrees and we've got Venus at 5 degrees in Virgo. So it's a squaring aspect. Squaring aspects are challenges. So it's showing that there's a bit of a challenge here to maintain balance, maintain stability, because Virgo's stability. So it's a struggle because it's an aspect, squaring aspect. So there's a bit of a struggle to maintain stability in communications, in negotiations, and also and this can be personally, but it can also be world stage as well. And also balance and harmony with Venus is balance and harmony. So there's a bit of a struggle to keep those things stable at the moment in the current sky. What's happening with the stars above. Now, the other big thing, as we all know, is Mercury in retrograde. Now, I'm not always affected by Mercury in retrograde. Mercury is the ruler of my sun placement, which is Gemini, but I am affected. This one's got me. It's in Cancer. Cancer is my moon sign, so I'm really affected by this energy. And what it could bring for you personally, or I guess on the world stage, is Mercury communication breakdown. It means what you're saying is not landing correctly to other people. Maybe you're mishearing what other people and not quite understanding what they're saying and taking it out of context. Maybe people are doing that to you. But what it can cause is a Cancer effect, as in Cancer the crab retreats under its shell, and it's like it takes offense to what's been said and then it just retreats. It just goes back onto the safety and protection of nurturing your own feelings, nurturing your own point of view, and just retreating because the communication is quite erratic at the moment, both world stage and personal stage. So I'm definitely feeling that, definitely feeling the Mercury retrograde this week. So yeah, I think I'll leave the astrology part. So that's the astrology section. Let's get into the reading. We're starting with the collective energy. Welcome back. I'm using the Forecaster Oracle. Now I've shuffled and pulled, I usually pull 10 cards and I lay them in the order that they jump out. So I know which ones are going to be sitting on top of each other. Well, I don't know, but I lay them correctly as they fill out so the correct ones fall in line where they're supposed to be. So let's see what is revealed in the cards today. There's a lot here going on. Now I'm starting from the beginning because there's so much here. This is Cosmic Frontier, above and beyond. Usually when I see this card, I refer to the astrology and talk about what's happening in the planets, which I already did talk about in that section, showing that there is definitely tension coming. especially with negotiations and communication because of what's happening in above. This can also talk about what's happening above affecting us below. So the sun, for instance, affecting the earth. It is sitting next to global impacts, so what's happening above does affect many on the surface. What happens above affects below. Now, while I'm not seeing any sun or solar activity cards here on the table, I am seeing that many will be impacted or affected by what happened in the collective energy this week. This is the collective energy reading. Now, sitting above here, we have terms agreed to and deals made. So what's happening with the deals made? They're saying refer back to the astrology, and that's showing tension within communication because of the Uranus and Mars sitting in Gemini, conjunct. Also negatively aspecting Venus, trying to maintain stability and balance here, and it's just not working. It's blowing up. Plus we have Mercury in retrograde, making communication very difficult. So anything that was agreed to will be either just blown out of the water. As we know, they're saying that the ceasefire, which we're seeing here, the negotiation ceasefire has ended. It's changing course. The ceasefire is changing course. Now, we already know that. That's already happening. But the cards are showing here. Now, what's really interesting is Earth is responding to something, climate reckoning, and global impacts affect many. Usually when we see this climate reckoning, which is the Earth responding, it means that there is energy coming in, perhaps from above, that causes earthquakes or volcanoes. It is sitting next to a water card. So we could be talking about, now because it's not predictive, I'm less inclined to say this is a prediction. This is more about the energy. So if it was a prediction, I would say water event. Earth responds by a water event. This means emotions. If we're talking about energy and we're talking about collective energy, we're talking about emotional energy. So what's happening in the world collectively this week gets tense. The ceasefire changes course and things start to get a little bit more tense. There's tension on the cards here. Diplomatic fallout with negotiations, changing course on that. Truth is revealed, or people wanting to tell their own points of view. People just not being united, not being able to be united. They're talking, and this is collectively and world stage, it's showing that people are just having trouble bringing their ideas into harmony, or their opinions into harmony. So there's diplomatic tension and fallout here. This is collectively. That means it could be happening personally around you, but it can also be happening world stage, which usually results in Iran and it's usually Iran and US, but it could also be Ukraine and Russia here. And as I say that, I'm looking at foundations being impacted. To me, that means more activity going on and foundations or infrastructure as a target here. So the impacts on infrastructure. Now, I feel it could easily be any one of the four countries. So that's US and Iran, escalation, bases, US naval bases. It could also, and we have a water card sitting there. And then it could also be Ukraine and Russia, but it's going to affect many. Now, because this is the collective energy reading and not the prediction side, it's giving a lot of predictive energy, but it's how it's affecting in the collective is that it's going to bring tension back into the collective energy. It's going to bring emotions back into the collective energy. It is going to impact many. So we're going to be seeing more of this kind of negative energy getting around, tension energy. So in this case, I would say then you're responsible for the kind of energy you put back into the collective. So if you're finding this a little bit difficult as far as what's going on in the world, turn your TV off, turn off the media, turn off the news, turn off anything that feels that's contributing to this tension energy, because you're responsible what you do with your energy. I think for the week ahead, we're in for a big week. Either Earth being impacted, but people collectively, emotionally being impacted here, and especially because we're going to be hearing a lot more about fear. Are we going back into a state of scarcity? It's that kind of energy coming up again with what we're seeing on the table. You can see tears here as well. So let's read the predictive side. I just want to say here with I didn't read this card, it says justice summoned, accountability. This is saying that you're responsible for what the energy you put into or take from the collective energy. So that's taking accountability for your own actions or your own energy. Welcome back to the predictive energy for what's coming up for the week ahead from the 13th of July. So what we're seeing here is definitely earth impact. So this is similar to what we saw in the first part of the reading where earth responds. And I said there's normally earthquakes or volcanoes when we see that earth response card. We are seeing shaky ground, earth fracture, that's earthquakes, and we are seeing the volcano card. It's got the volcano in it. So the earth responding to what's happening perhaps with solar flares or the recent 1.3 X-class could be resulting in earthquakes or volcanoes this week, predictively. Inundation is rising tide. Now that could be a tsunami warning triggered by an event such as eruption, predictively. Predictively, we're seeing strange weather events occurring. Now that could be something to do with rain. That's showing a rain card. And over here we're seeing water. So water again. So there could be some strange anomalies or weather events to do with rain or water unfolding over this week. But there's more to this one. Harvest impacted. So we could be seeing that harvests could be affected, whatever stage farmers are up to in their cycle, affected by the strange weather or impacted by this strange weather that's happening. Now it doesn't have to be rain, it can be heat. It's unusual weather events this week. But we are seeing a few water cards on the table as well. Impacted outcome, this is farmers, this is like fertilizers. There could be that energy around being scarcity again, although this feels to be a little bit more related to weather events affecting the farming cycles. Education, we've got something coming up in around schools or education this week. Many viewpoints or something seen by many. Interesting that these two cards together don't normally come up together, but we're seeing something. This is like all different types of media getting involved. There's all media outlets here in this one. Many viewpoints, or could be seen by many, connected to schools or education. We've got unfolding drama or scandal also sitting next to this card, but could be connected also to the algorithm. Okay, whenever we get this algorithm card, it means that our algorithm is going to be flooded with some kind of drama. So some kind of drama could be flooding our internet, could be flooding our social media, flooding the news. When we see the algorithmic influence, it means that something big is happening this week in the collective or predictively that's going to be all over our social media. But here it's saying it's a drama, it's a scandal, and that will be unfolding this week. So whatever it is, whether it's related to, earth events or whether it's related to something completely different, it's saying something big is happening this week because it is in our algorithms this week. This card never lets me down. Every time it comes out, there's something big that plays out that's all over our social media. What is it sitting next to? It's sitting next to shaky ground, earthquake. It's sitting next to scandals. Also have to say, now I'm not seeing the card of distraction, but sometimes when something is forced on the algorithm or all over the algorithm, it's saying look here but don't look here. So it's also, it could be, for instance, the market's going up and down, which I'm not seeing here in this week, or the war again, it raises its head again, because it's saying look here, don't look over here. Or there could be an event that happens and it's pushed at everybody to look at, so we look here instead of looking here. So that could be a thing that we need to have our eyes open to as well. Interesting, because we've got an unfolding drama on the table or an unfolding scandal on our algorithm, but over here we've got something to do with a leader facing scrutiny or under review. This is a crown card, so it can be the UK. but generally it means some kind of leader is under review, facing scrutiny this week. Under pressure or pressure releasing information, under pressure to release something. A leader or royal. So that's a lot. There's a lot of predictions there for the week ahead involving earth impacts, natural disasters, strange weather still unfolding over this current week, something to do with education, some kind of unfolding dramas all over our internet, and something to do with a leader facing scrutiny or under review, perhaps, or under pressure to release information. Let's do the personal reading. Welcome back to the personal section. This is how to best navigate the incoming energy this week. So first of all, we have the synthetic mind AI adaptation. When I first read this, I read this as sympathy. So having sympathy for other people around you. Clarity, having a little bit of clarity to other people around you. So having maybe personally this week is really just focusing on having sympathy for the people around you and having a bit more clarity on what they're going through this week. We have a celestial trigger, something happening cosmetically affecting people collectively. So this is showing tense energy in the collective, then it will affect some people or trigger some people, because we've got the trigger card here as well. So I think, now this says data breach, cyber attack. So I think that people may feel attacked this week, especially since the astrology section as above, or the cosmic influence, was quite heavy with the tense cards this week. We had the Uranus and Mars conjunction, also squaring Venus energy, trying to maintain stability and balance. Then we have Mercury in retrograde. So we do have quite tense energy here, especially when it comes to communication, being difficulty in communication, and it's in Cancer, so it feels like you could just feel like you just want to hide away and just not face it, not deal with it. You know, you may have misheard somebody, you may have misunderstood somebody, and this card here is saying you may feel attacked by something somebody has said, and maybe it wasn't meant to come out that way. This is showing having clarity in how you're hearing or how the communication is going on this week. Differences divide. This is not reconcilable. So people are really having different opinions. People are affected, I think, differently by what's happening in the world, what's happening with the collective energy. And I think some handle it, some people don't. I feel like some people are at pressure point. Some people this week could explode with the energy, whether that means a lot more anger, a lot more tension, or just, when you try and push something down, it just releases. There's a release of, it all comes out finally. Now, things that you've been pushing down, but it's showing also there could be people just not seeing the situation the same or having different opinions here. There's a lot of tense energy on the cards here individually. I don't want to focus too much on it, but what I am seeing is pressure. I'm seeing imbalance within people's values or the way they're seeing a situation or understanding this, not seeing eye to eye on things. I'm seeing people feeling personally attacked or triggered by other people's responses. I'm seeing energy here of having to be sympathetic to our people close to us and have a bit more clarity to what they're going through, the people around us, because they may not be handling the situation, the intense energy quite as well, and there could be a bit of pressure release, a bit of anger, a bit of tension released here over this current week. So take care of yourselves, just be kind and patient to everybody around you, because there's a lot of tension taking place this week. We have financial accountability, or abundance, it could be accountability because that was a Freudian slip. So maybe that's taking accountability for your finances and how you're spending your money this week. But it also really is the financial abundance card. It's growth and expansion. So it's saying Don't panic too much about this heavy energy. Just be aware of it. Just be aware of it affecting other people, and be sympathetic or empathetic to the people around you. But don't panic about it. Don't dwell on it. Don't further escalate the energy. Just be aware that it is taking place in the collective. So you're going to need to be more balanced or harmonious, or, be careful with what you say, because it may not land the way you want it to, and it could cause tensions, people back to back, not talking, that kind of energy, or eruption, anger kind of energy, where because somebody feels personally attacked or triggered by what was said, communication, because there's a lot of energy taking place in Gemini this week. But on the positive, we've got the financial abundance. So we're going to run with that. Focus on what's good in your life. Abundance isn't just money. Abundance is you attracting abundance of what you're putting your intentions on. So put your intentions on something good, on something positive, and attract more of that to you. Don't panic. Don't focus on all this quite tense energy over here at the moment. So that's the advice the cards want to give. There's tense energy in the collective energy. It's the possibility for arguments, disruption, pressure build up or release, which means anger release, which means outburst, emotional outbursts or anger outbursts. Here we've got, and that could close doors on relationships here, especially because there's differences divide. So these are quite really tense cards this week. It has me worried. So don't focus too much on that energy. It says don't panic. Just focus on what is good in your life and expand on that positive energy, and be sympathetic to what other people are going through at the moment. But as always, I hope you all have a beautiful week ahead. Focus on the good things in your life, put positive energy back into the collective, and have a beautiful week. I'll see you again next week.